After a long and demanding week of single handedly devastating the American economy and then humiliating himself by making a bunch of concessions and walkbacks that he swore he never would, Donald Trump flew back to Mar a Lago over the weekend. But during the flight on Air Force One, he took the time to engage with reporters, and at least one of them kind of publicly mocked him to his face about a cognitive test that he supposedly took, and we have to talk about all this. But before we do, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, a couple of things that we're going to talk about here in these clips. One is Donald Trump bragging about a cognitive test he took and how he's at the peak of his physical and mental health, and then also about the economic turmoil that he unleashed on the country. But we're going to start with the cognitive stuff first because a reporter actually asked him a question in a really mocking way, and it goes right over Trump's head. But his answer is pretty ridiculous anyway.
Can you tell us what the cognitive test is? That man, woman, person, camera,
It's I think it's a pretty well-known test. Whatever it is, I got it all right. As I've done about 4 times. And I take it.
So I don't know if I don't know if you caught it. We're going to try to make sure the audio is audible enough. So the reporter says, "So tell us about that cognitive test. Is it really difficult? Is it man, woman, giraffe, TV?" Because you may recall during the 2020 election in particular, Donald Trump boasted about this in an interview with then Fox News journalist Chris Wallace. He's like, "I aced the cognitive test. They asked me a bunch of hard questions. They show me pictures, and I'm like, yeah, that's a man, that's a woman, that's a TV." And it was basically, so it's one of the most reputable tests for like testing whether or not a person has any sort of basic pattern recognition, whether they have Alzheimer's, okay? And Trump is boasting that he was able to identify a picture of a television, a picture of a giraffe, a picture of a woman and a camera and a man. And so this reporter is almost mocking him by saying, was it that test? And Trump's answer, of course, even in and of itself is disastrous. He doesn't even say yes. He seemingly can't remember what the test was. Oh, it's just one of the well-known ones. And I aced it. I aced it as I've done 4 times before. Again, bragging, when you're the president of the United States, that you can, again, recognize a picture of a television, a man, a woman, and a giraffe. That's not exactly a high bar, but he goes on like it. So here's another clip.
time ago.
The yearly physical. I think I did well. I think they're releasing the report on Sunday. It's highly respected now. It's a great place, great, amazing place.
Did they give you any suggestions or advice? Anything you need to change up?
A little bit, but overall, I think I felt I was in very good shape. Good heart, a good soul, very good soul. And I wanted to be a little different than I took a cognitive test. And I don't know what to tell you other than I got every answer right. They took just a lot of different tests having to do with the heart, having to do with other things. And I think you'll find that they're going to release the report on Sunday. I think you'll find it very good.
Can you tell us what the cognitive test is? That man, woman, person, camera, TV?
It's I think it's a pretty well-known test. Whatever it is, I got it all right. As I've done about 4 times. And I've taken the cognitive test, I think 4 times, and I've got nothing wrong. That's what the American people want.
That was such a terrible response all the which way. Right? I mean, he's not responding in a way which suggests he would pass a truly robust cognitive test. It's full of non sequitur sentence fragments. He's all over the place. He calls it the weave, right? How he tries to weave all these things together. And again, when asked, okay, can you tell us about the test, or can you identify pictures, Mr. President? Whatever it is, I aced it. I got every answer right. And of course, his response about, having a good heart and a good soul. I mean, listen, Donald Trump apparently comes from a very long-lived lineage. So even though he is overweight and he has a terrible diet, it's entirely possible that he could live into his 80s or 90s. If I remember correctly, like his recent ancestors were fairly long-lived. So, but again, just the way he communicates about this is just so hilariously awkward. And I love the fact, again, that reporter roasted him to his face and Trump was too stupid to get it and just also gave a vaguely coherent answer. So then they started to talk about the tariffs and the economic turmoil that Trump unleashed. So we're going to play some of these clips.
Of course, what's beautiful.
What do you make of the dollar having gone down a little bit after the tariff announcement?
Listen, we're the currency of choice. We're always going to be, as long as you have somebody smart. And you know what? If a nation said we're not going to be on the dollar, I would tell you that within about one phone call, they would be back on the dollar. You always have to keep the dollar. No, the dollar is, I think when people understand what we're doing, I think the dollar will go way up. I'm not talking about you're talking about the value of the dollar, which is what I'm talking about too. I think the dollar is tremendous.
Trump says that he can single-handedly resuscitate the value of the dollar with a single phone call. I'm not sure why the value of the dollar was diminishing in the first place then, or why he allowed it to go on as long as it did. Again, just total incoherence there. There's no evidence whatsoever that his madman approach to tariffs is working. And maybe it will. Maybe he will defy the odds there, as he will certainly try to present it that way. But there's no evidence there, and substantial evidence to indicate that he has really undermined America's position as not only the world's foremost economy, but the effective gold standard of a reliable commercial and trading partner. I mean, there are even, speaking of the dollar, concerns that whether or not the U.S. dollar will remain the world's global reserve currency, which is when two countries or two interests which have different currencies and they can't come to an agreement, they'll just simply use dollars, the U.S. dollar, as a basis for the transaction because the U.S. dollar has been the gold standard, proverbially speaking, metaphorically speaking, to effectuate that transaction. But Trump has undermined even that. But he's asked again other questions about the economic turmoil which he's wrought.
It's going to be stronger than ever.
How are you feeling with the bond market right now, sir?
I think
10 years
the bond market's going good. It had a little moment, but I solved that problem very quickly.
No, he didn't. The bond market, I mean, even at, so the bond market wasn't doing well, was causing investors to panic, and then he reversed course on the tariff, and then the day after, the bond market also struggled as well. This idea that Trump single-handedly solved anything is just total nonsense, because it's not just the imposition of the tariffs, it's the uncertainty of the tariff policy. Trump doesn't grasp that. It's not just the tariff and the composition of the tariff or the imposition of the tariff. It's what the hell are you going to do or say tomorrow? The uncertainty Trump is creating is causing people to doubt, U.S. Treasury and U.S. bonds as being a reliable investment. That's the problem. Trump did it. Him saying he solved it is ridiculous. And even if it were true, he solved a problem he created. It's like saying, I put out the fire that I started. Well, again, do you deserve a gold star for that? No.
In history.
How concerned were you about the bond market? To what extent did that play a role?
It wasn't, a lot of people say, was that, no, it wasn't.
What was it?
I want to put the country in an unbelievable economic position, which is where we should be. And it should have been done many years ago by other presidents, and they didn't do it. They didn't have the courage to do it. And to me, it's not a question of courage.
You see how he did? They ask, okay, well, what caused you to reverse course if it wasn't seeing the chaos in the bond market? I want to put the U.S. in an unbelievable position. You have put the U.S. in an unbelievable position, but for the worse. He won't answer the question. The truth is, based on the available evidence, is that it was indeed the bond market, as well as Jamie Dimon, the CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase, going on Fox News and saying that he believes that a recession is imminent. The backlash that Trump was receiving from people like Bill Ackman and other MAGA mega donors, as well as the markets in general. All of this had a collective effort of making Trump realize, oh shit, I'm probably going to trigger a recession, if not a depression. That's the reporting on this. Trump doesn't want you to believe that he is, can succumb to external pressure when he obviously can under the right circumstances, because he thinks that to capitulate in this respect is a sign of weakness. No, what was a sign of weakness was you doing this stupid shit to begin with, not you eventually being forced to see reason in one critical aspect. That's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is you doing this in the first place. He just doesn't understand that.
Can I ask you about what you thought of the markets today and this week?
Which one?
The markets this week and the
Well, I think the markets were solid today. I think people are saying we're in great shape. We have, we're making a lot of money as a country now for the first time in a long time. we were losing billions of dollars a day, and now we're making billions of dollars a day. It's a big difference. And we then brought it down to 10%. And so that made it a little bit less. But
again, the tariffs that they're collecting will be passed off to the consumer unless companies decide to do something truly unprecedented, which is just eat the costs rather than pass them on. Again, just Donald Trump being totally unhinged, per usual, because he's just making this up as he goes along. There's no basis, there's no rhyme or reason to his approach. Here's another clip.
How we're going with other countries aside from China is healthy. You were talking to some before you left the ball.
we're talking to a lot of countries, and ultimately, we pretty much can do what we want to do, but we want to be fair. We can set the tariff, and they can choose not to deal with us, or they can choose to pay it. And that's where we are. We can set the tariff, or we can do it a number of different ways, but that seems to be appropriate. And they can pay it or negotiate it, or they can not pay it. They can just say we can't do business with them. If they think it's too high, they don't have to do business with us. But I don't think anybody would think that, actually.
Again, just total incoherence. You said they couldn't negotiate. Now you're saying that it's subject to negotiation if they don't want to pay the tariff. This is part of the problem. The total lack of consistency and uncertainty, as demonstrated in this final clip that we'll play about the 10% tariff being a floor or a ceiling, fixed or not.
Is 10% the floor, Mr. President? You think?
Pretty close, yeah, I would say.
Pretty close.
There could be a couple of exceptions for obvious reasons, but I would say 10% is.
Is 10% the floor like you previously said? Nah. I mean, maybe. I mean, close. Probably could be some exceptions and exemptions. But you said there wouldn't be exceptions or exemptions before. Yeah, but I changed my mind on that. All right. Again, this is why the market's in turmoil. That's why the economy's in turmoil. It's not just the insanity of the stated regime. It's the inconsistency of the policy. He does not grasp that. It doesn't seem like anybody will get through to him in that respect. So who the hell knows what we can expect in the near future? Up, down, just pure chaos for the foreseeable future. That's where we are. But hey, don't worry. While all this is going on, Trump is on another taxpayer-subsidized vacation golfing. There you go. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.